Hi, and welcome back to the channel. It is finally here. I am finally doing my eyeshadow declutter. I wanted to film a little bit of an intro just so I didn't have to talk too much about this stuff. Too much, maybe? I have a lot of palettes. I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, and I love them. I love my big collection. Most of these, actually all of these, why did I say most? All of these I have bought with my own money, and it's just a hobby. I like collecting eyeshadow palettes, so don't be overwhelmed by the amount of eyeshadow palettes here, because it is overwhelming. This is not going to be a super cutthroat declutter, but I do want to get rid of a good amount because some of these I just don't use, and I would like them to go to a home where, you know, maybe someone will get more use out of them. Now, saying that, I will be listing any of the ones that I've decided to sell on my Mercari, which is listed down below if you're interested. So feel free to take a look. But yeah, I say we just get into this because this is going to be a two-part series because that's how many eyeshadow palettes I have. It's just out of control. When you see how many baskets of eyeshadow palettes I have, you're going to be alarmed. Oh, one more thing. You're not going to see any of my ColourPop shadows in here because I've decided I did a declutter of those early in the year. I didn't add a whole lot. And by early in the year, I mean earlier in 2022. We're now in 2023. I am behind. But I decluttered a ton in the beginning of 2022. And what I'm going to actually do is do a ranking of my ColourPop videos. So a little bit different, but still very exciting. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for the warning, but don't be overwhelmed because it is overwhelming. And I've tried to kind of arrange these in groups based on the brand, but they are everywhere. So I am, we're just gonna get into it. We're just gonna see how it goes. So sit back, enjoy, and I would love to hear from you down below. Please take a second to subscribe if you haven't already. I would really appreciate it. Let's get into this. Okay, so just so you have an idea, we have piles and piles. Oh yeah, those are my fancy slippers. Thank you, TJ Maxx. Yeah, it's not organized yet. I'm gonna get it organized. I'm gonna try to go through these by brand, but there's just a lot. There's just a lot. I have a lot. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you a sneak peek. Okay, just so you can kind of see the progress. We've organized them into piles. Okay, I swear these are piles. Kitty's helping. There's a piece of popcorn in there. Hi, Kitty. And yeah, it's looking better, right? We are just going to get into it. Again, this isn't going to be a super intense declutter. I do want to reduce the size of my collection, but I don't want to declutter just to declutter. I want to actually declutter if I don't actually use it or if I don't like it, right? So if I like it or I love it, I'm going to keep it. So we are going to start with my Give Me Glow shadows. There's a lot. I have this little quad of just 4 different shadows, just really cute. I'm not getting rid of any of my Give Me Glows. I guess I should just say that right now because it's one of my favorite brands. We have the Sweet and Sticky palette. It is a great neutral palette. This one went on sale recently and I picked it up, so I haven't actually used it yet, but I got it for a sweet deal, so I'm excited. There's the Extra Spicy palette, which looks like this. It's kind of a mess. The red gets everywhere, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a gorgeous palette. We have the Bad Witch Club, which came out a couple Halloweens ago, I believe, and another great, gorgeous palette. I guess you guys are going to be like, stop saying that, please. I get it. They're all gorgeous because they are all gorgeous. This is the Two Moods palette. This came out last year in 2022. And do I not say gorgeous anymore? Haunted Pumpkin is my newest one from them. I just did a video on this one, so if you're curious about how it performs, go ahead and check that out. It's a great palette. Vivid Rose. I don't use this one very much, you know, which is surprising because I have a lot of love for purples. So I think I just need to bring this out into my rotation. I have kind of like a box of eyeshadow palettes that I pull from throughout the week, and I try to kind of change it out, but don't do the best job. We've got Pastel Dreams. This is another one I don't get a whole lot of use out of, but the shimmers are absolutely stunning. So, so pretty. Vintage Rose was how I first learned about Give Me Glow, and it is just a great palette. I cannot recommend this palette enough if you are interested in trying out Give Me Glow's formula. It's so good. They have the Grunge palette, which I don't believe is available anymore. It's a great grunge palette. I love it. Juicy Olive. We got some grungy greens. Absolutely fantastic. Love that one. Christmas Morning I've been talking about quite a bit lately, and that's because it's just a great palette. This color, Gifts Galore, is beautiful. The Stocking Stuffers Red is gorgeous. The shimmers and the mattes perform beautifully, so really like this palette, and it's actually still available on their website. This is just a palette full of singles from them, so not much to say except it's gorgeous. Okay, so obviously we're off to a not great start, but that's okay. Next, let's talk about my Menagerie Cosmetics palettes. I have quite a few of those as well, and I think there are a few that I am ready to part ways with, which is really sad because I do like Menagerie quite a bit. But let's start with the newest one. Sugar High is new in my collection. I did do a review of this on my channel, so if you're curious, it is gorgeous. These colors play so well with each other. I really do like pulling this palette out, so we're keeping that. We have Whale Song. This one, I don't know if you saw that happen in real life. This one pops out. It's really annoying. It just, I don't know what's wrong with the magnet, but it pops out. But you know, I actually think I'm gonna get rid of this one. I think it's time to say goodbye. This one, it's not my favorite out of all the ones that I have from them. And I just don't find myself reaching for it. So I'm hoping someone else will find love in their heart for this little guy. So we're going to declutter that one. Feral palette. Wow, this is one of my it's a stunning green. This ivy color, I hate with every bone in my body. For some reason, it is just not good. It is just very patchy, but I do like the rest of the colors. This is really the only one I have an issue with. So I am going to keep the Feral palette. We've got the Killer Purr. Another one that I haven't reached for in a while, so I think it's time to say goodbye to this one. It's a great neutral palette. The Watering Hole Teal is a very pretty color, but I just don't reach for it, so why am I keeping it, right? So we're going to declutter that one. Now, Pastel Pup, I don't use this one very much. Oh, and I guess I should have done a warning that you're going to see lots of cat hair. I have 4 of them. They're everywhere. This is more their home than my home, I swear. But Pastel Pup, I don't use a lot, but I do want to do a battle of my pastel palettes. So I'm going to hold on to this one for now, but we're going to see if it survives that battle. I have the Violet Ink, which is some gorgeous purples. I really like this one, so we will be keeping that one. Serenity is also a newer one. They did this in collab with, I think, Annette's Makeup Corner. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And it's gorgeous. This is definitely where their formula really shines in these shimmers. So we're going to keep that one. And Indigo Ink. Another of my older ones from them that I don't reach for a lot. But, you know, maybe I'll pull this one out and put it in my rotation as well, because the shimmers in this one are really good. Ink Defense is really pretty. So I want to get some more use out of this. Who knows? It might not survive my next declutter. We don't know. But I'm decluttering too. So we're starting strong. Next, we're going to be taking a look at my Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes and my Viseart palettes, because I have quite a few of those, and let's go through them. So let's start with Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Primrose palette. This one also has a blush, and you can use this as a bronzer. It's a little too warm for me to use as a bronzer, so I actually don't use this color very much at all. But the eyeshadows are great, so we're going to be keeping. We have Nouveau. It's a gorgeous palette, even if I can't say the name. Peacock is one of my favorite colors in it. Hope is also great, but it's just a great palette. I really like this one. I actually dropped this whole thing. The shadows all kind of popped out and I had to press them back in, but they survived. So yeah, super excited that they did. We have the Rose Metals, which I think is the newest one that they've come out with. It's really, really gorgeous. They really did a great job with this one. So keeping. Now we have some of our older ones. We have the Riviera. I just want to keep this for sentimental reasons. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it for sentimental reasons. And yeah, that it is what it is. It's okay. Subculture. I think I found this one at TJ Maxx for super cheap. Just because I wanted to know why people hated it so much. And I never used it. So even though it kind of, I think marks like an important part in makeup history, because when this came out, people talked about it a lot because they were surprised that a brand who had come out with so many wins came out with such a huge fail. But I think, you know, it's time to go. If I haven't used it, I'm not going to use it. So let's give it to someone who will use it. So we're going to declutter Subculture. Then we have Sultry. This is a great palette. It really, really is, but it's just not unique in my very large collection, so I don't reach for it. And even though it's great, I am going to declutter it, and even though it's super gorgeous, but I want it, again, to go to someone who's going to use it. This one isn't sentimental enough for me to keep. So we are going to declutter both Sultry and Subculture, and yeah. Now onto my Viseart palettes. These ones, I have like a love-hate relation with Viseart. Like sometimes they come out with great stuff and then sometimes I use it and I'm like, why is it so expensive? This one is the, let's see, Bijou. I believe it's the Bijou palette. This one is good though. We're going to keep this one. I do like how colorful it is. I like that one. We have the Neutral Mattes, which I have definitely dropped. So as you can see, we've got some shattering going on. I am a little clumsy, so this one got dropped, unfortunately. But I don't like this one either, so maybe it was like a subconscious thing. I'm gonna actually declutter this one. I have learned about myself, I don't like all matte palettes. I just really, really don't. So we're gonna declutter this one. Sorry, my leg is in the finder. We are gonna keep Bohem Dream. This is very pretty. Their shimmers are very, very pretty. And this is just a great palette. So we're going to keep this one. We have the Soleil La Plage, which is actually pretty new in my collection. I picked it up when it was on sale, so I have not used it. So I need to use it. And we're going to keep it. We have the Warm Edit. This is the minis that they just came out with. This is a great one. I really like this one. It's great to travel with. You do have to be careful because the formula is pretty soft, but look how tiny it is. So cute. We also have the Paris Edit, which is very tiny, but also great to travel with. This guy's popping out, but you just really have to be careful with these. This does not go in this pile. We have a Huda pile. Let's see. This is the Paris Etoile. This is a great grungy palette. Look how pretty that is. This is a good one. I do like this one. And then we have the Petite Pro 5 Soleil. Another really pretty one, another colorful one. I don't reach for this one though. And even though it's very pretty, I don't think I will reach for it very much. So I'm going to declutter that one. I'm going to declutter these two. Next, we're going to take a look at my Melt Cosmetics and Huda Beauty palettes and go through these. This one is the oldest one I have. This is the Impulsive palette. It's a beautiful palette. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it. It survived my last declutter, and I was like, I can't get rid of it. Look how pretty these colors are. These shimmers are gorgeous. Guess who didn't pull this out? It was me. So we're going to declutter this one finally. It's going to go to a good home, I promise. Next, we have the infamous Melt Smoke Sessions, if you don't know what I mean. This is another one that had a lot of conversation around it because a lot of people, their shadows puffed up in the pans, and they had to get sent new ones. It was a whole thing. Mine didn't have that problem, luckily. I think this was when they reformatted it a little bit so that it didn't do that. But it's a fun palette, so we're going to keep it. The Radioactive palette, it is just a beautiful pressed pigment. I'm always blown away when I see it because it's so pretty. So we're going to keep that one. Millennial Pink, I have gone back and forth over. Because I was originally going to keep it in the box. I got it in a mystery pack from Melt Cosmetics. I was going to keep it and I was going to destash it. But I like it. You know, it is very pretty. I've heard mixed reviews on it, but I want to try it for myself. So we're going to keep it. I have the Vita palette. the Morte palette too, right? Maybe not. I thought I did. Maybe I just have the Vita. It's another gorgeous palette. This one, I really like how the formula works. The Vita palette is absolutely gorgeous. It performs really well. I do like this one quite a bit. So we are going to hold on to this one. We have Gemini and the Gemini 2. Gemini is one of my favorite palettes. When they reissued it, I had to have it because I didn't get it when it first launched. It sold out. It was out of stock for a really long time. And then it came back last year in 2022. And I was so stoked. I picked it up and it has become a huge favorite of mine. Gemini 2, I don't reach for as often, but I do really like this color story. The problem I have with Gemini 2 is there's not enough shimmers in it for me. There's 2. That's just not enough. But their mattes perform well in this one, so we'll keep it. We have the 420 palette. I don't reach for this one. It's not like attached to it in any way. I think I've swatched a couple colors, but I don't think, it just doesn't call to me. I'm not a big yellow fan, so I'm actually going to get rid of this one. We also have the 27 palette. This one's okay. The formula is not my favorite. This one has a little bit of sentimentality attached to it because I was born on the 27th, and that is why I really wanted it. And it is a good neutral palette. It's a pretty colors. I am going to keep this one. Okay, we have the Melt. What is this? The Amor y Mariposas, and it is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes from them and just in general. These colors perform so well. Their greens are fabulous. This palette went on sale. I think I bought it for full price, which I'm not mad at all. It was worth it. When it went on sale, I was just like, anyone who would listen, go buy this palette. You will not regret it. It is a beautiful palette. I love this palette. It's a great palette. So we're going to keep these. We will move them in a second. So we're going to be decluttering Impulsive and the 420 palette. Huda Beauty. Huda Beauty. Let's take a look at what I have. I have the Amethyst Obsessions. This is another one that survived my last declutter. It's not going to survive this one. We're going to say goodbye to that one. We have the Wild Chameleon. This is a great one. This is a good one. I love the packaging. We're going to keep this one. We have the Wild Palette. It looks like this. This is another great one. I really like this one. So we're going to keep this one as well. We have the Nude in Medium. And I actually got rid of the Nude and Light in the last declutter. And I'm going to get rid of this one too because I just don't use this one. There's nothing unique about it. We have some of the pastels. We have the Pastel Rose, Pastel Lilac, and Pastel Mint. And I wanted to keep these for my battle of the pastels. But you know what? I think I'm going to get rid of the Pastel Rose because it's just not a color story I super love. I'm going to keep Pastel Mint and I'm going to keep Pastel Lilac for my battle of the pastels. These are pastels that I would actually reach for more. We're going to keep those, yeah. We have the Rose Quartz eyeshadow palette, which is beautiful. I do like this one quite a bit. I don't reach for it super often. It's a little bit newer in my collection, so I need to pull this one out more. And then we have the Mercury Retrograde, which is talked about a lot because it is such a fun palette. So we're going to hold on to this one as well. We have one more Melt. We have the Beetlejuice, the Waiting Room palette. This one is so cool. Like, even the insert is cool. This one, I'm kind of scared to use. I don't know why. I'm being silly about it, but it's just one of those really pretty palettes that it's like, I'm never gonna be able to get that again. So I have kind of just been hanging on to this one, but I'm going to continue hanging on to that one because I like it. I have my palettes from Blend Bunny here. These aren't going anywhere. I like these quite a bit. We have the Primal palette, which is a gorgeous rainbow palette. We have the Surge palette, another gorgeous neon palette. Blends. And then the Dollhouse, which is a really good neutral palette. So those are staying. We have a few from Shroud Cosmetics. We have It's Freaking Bats, which is a great Halloween palette that we are going to be keeping. We have Divinity, which I just don't use, but it's really, really pretty. And the shadows perform well, but I don't use this palette. So I'm going to declutter this one. We have the Arcana palette, which I really, really like. I like how grungy it is. I like how the shadows perform. So we're going to be keeping these two and decluttering the Divinity palette. Next, let's go over my Lorac palettes. We have the Myricks palette, which is one of my favorite neutral palettes. The only thing that is annoying to me is that they didn't print the names of the shadows on the palette. It's in an insert, which I have taped to the back. But other than that, it is a fantastic palette. So we're going to be keeping this one. We have the Noir palette. Again, it's got that insert. This actually reminds me a lot of the Sultry palette that I just decluttered. And I think I'm going to declutter this one too. Again, it's a beautiful palette that performs really well, but I am just not reaching for it because it's just not unique in my collection. So I'm going to declutter this one. We have the Lorac Fairy Tale Forest palette. This one I'm going to be keeping. This one I haven't used too much of, but I think it's got kind of quite a few of the noir ones, which is why I'm happy to keep this one and then declutter the noir one. And yeah, I do like this one, so we're going to keep this one. We have some of the Mega palettes. We have the Pro Mega 4. These I just kind of like for sentimental reasons. I don't really use them very much because they are very old. But we're going to keep these for, again, sentimental reasons. We have the original Mega, which I did get quite a bit of use out of. Oh, food kitties. We have the Pro Mega 2, which I think I bought this one off of Mercari because I wanted it in my collection, and I haven't used it too much. But again, we're just gonna keep these. I love these. I like having the pros in my collection. And they were some of the first that I started collecting and really falling in love with. We have a couple from, it's kind of a random pile. We have a couple from Charlotte Tilbury. We have the Instant Eye Palette, Smoky Eyes Are Forever. You know, I really did a 180 on Charlotte Tilbury's shadows, and I really love the palettes that I have from her. It's a great creamy formula. I really, really enjoy it. I also have the Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize palette. Again, it's very creamy shadows, and they're ridiculously expensive, so I don't feel like I need all of them, but I like the ones I have. And we also have some palettes from Zisi. These are the Alice in Wonderland themed ones, and I'm probably going to keep all three, even though I don't use them. I really love Alice in Wonderland. So we have the We're All Mad Here palette, which is a bunch of pinks, very pretty. We have the, oh, I forgot. These ones are kind of labeled weird. So this is number 3, and then this palette is number 2. Looks like this. And then we have number 1. So it looks like this. Again, I don't really use these palettes. I just really love what they look like. I think they did just a fantastic job with everything. They're just so beautiful. So we're going to keep these ones. We have a bunch of Too Faced, Tarte, Urban Decay. These are some OG brands that I have that I need to get rid of some. We have the Too Faced Born This Way Natural Nudes. It's a great nude palette that I just don't use because, again, it's not unique in my collection. So it gets buried. So I'm going to declutter this guy. Let's try to do our Too Faced ones. Is there more? Are these all urban? Maybe that's it. Okay, maybe that was the only... No, I have... Oh, here they are. They're hiding. I have 3 of the Too Faced tin palettes. I have the Gingerbread Extra Spicy, which is a great palette. I have the Pumpkin Spice, which you know is not going anywhere. It's pumpkin spice. I love it. And I have the Clover palette, which is just the cutest palette ever. And we're keeping all 3 of these. Oh my gosh, that's my hair. That's not even a cat hair. These are some of their best palettes. And I love the formula in them. And I just love the themes. So we're keeping these 3. Let's get into Urban Decay. Urban Decay Honey. This is a funny one because I actually decluttered it in my my last year's declutter, and I brought it back out because I was not quite ready to let it go. I did a use it or lose it video with this one, and it's just really pretty. It's a great palette. So I want to use it more. I want to keep it in my collection. So we are going to keep it. We have the Urban Decay Stone Vibes. This one also survived my last declutter. And I was like, oh, it's such a cool palette. And I just don't reach for it. It is a good palette. Like it is good, but again, I just don't reach for it. It's very pretty looking. I like what they did with it. But the shadows are just a little bit too, there's not enough of a dark base to it. I like stuff with a slightly darker base. So I am going to declutter this one. I am going to let this one go. It's so pretty though. The Urban Decay Heat palette. This is a great neutral palette. This is not one that I reach for. Oh, this is a good palette though. Okay, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it. I can do what I want. Okay, the Wild Green palette. A lot of people didn't like this one, but I really thought it was good. I liked using this palette. I like using this palette. I do wish they had more greens in it, but the greens they have are really good. So I'm gonna keep this one. Urban Decay Cyber. This one I don't love, but I don't hate. You know what? I think I need to use this one in one of my upcoming Use It or Lose It's to get a reminder of if I do like this one or not. We have Urban Decay Moon Dust. This is another old one that survived my last declutter, and I was like, you know what? It's just a pretty palette, and I have fond memories with this palette. And is that where I am? Okay, let's swatch this guy. No, I just don't need it. I don't need it. Like, swatching things is just going to convince me to keep them. I think I'm ready to say goodbye to this one. Yeah, goodbye, Moon Dust. We have, this one's so old. This is the Urban Decay Back Talk palette. It looks like this. I don't know if you've seen it before. You might not have. It is very old. And I keep this one for sentimental reasons, for sure. I got this one shopping with my mom. That's it. That's the sentimentality. This is before I had a huge collection. I'm going to keep this one. Tarte. We have some Tarte. We have the Spicy Betch, which is just a classic. I just keep this one because I love that it's called Spicy Betch. So I will continue to keep it for that very shallow reason. We also have the Icy Betch. This one is fun, but this is another one that I do not use. So I think I'm just ready to let this one go. We have two of the tiny foil finger paints. This is Lunar, and this is Lunar and Bahamas. These are just really, really old. They are exceptional. I do kind of wish they would relaunch these because they're just fantastic, but they're very, very old. And because they're a more cream, they do smell okay. They smell okay, but I just think I don't want to put them. Oh my God, look at that. That's ridiculous. They smell okay. I'm actually kind of surprised. You know, I'm going to keep these for now. I don't know. I'm going to do something with these. I don't know if I feel super comfortable putting them on my eyes, but I do want to do something with these. So I'm going to keep these for now. I mean, look at that silver. That's ridiculous. Next, we have the Tarte High Tides and Good Vibes. And to be honest, I just want to keep this one for the packaging, and I can honestly say that, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm going to get rid of this one. It was okay, but it's got like quite a few pressed glitters in it. So those are all pressed glitters, and I just don't feel comfortable using pressed glitters. So I'm going to say goodbye to this one. We have one more Tarte. We have the Maneater palette. This one came out in 2022, and it's a fantastic palette. The Tarte is finally kind of, you know, making waves again, which I appreciate, because there's a bit of nostalgia there with Tarte and me, and this is a great palette, so I'm happy to have this in my collection. So we're getting rid of some. Yay. These are my Norvinas and my Violet Vosses. I think I have all of them here. Possibly. I think I have one Norvina floating around somewhere else that I could not find. So I left some palettes at my parents' house, so they might be there. Oh my God, you're so dirty. So we have two of the little Norvinas. We have the Mini Pro Pigment Volume 3 and Volume 1. And this is Volume 3. and this is volume 1, and I'm going to declutter both of these. I never reach for these. Small palettes like this just tend to get lost in my collection anyways, so we are going to declutter these. The big ones, on the other hand, I am just obsessed with. This is the Pro Pigment volume 6. It's gorgeous. I love it. Now, pressed pigment is can be a little bit trickier to play with. This one is a little bit trickier, I would say. You can't really, you know, like buff things out. You kind of have to press it onto your eyelids. So that's the trick with these. This one is the volume 5. This is one of my favorite palettes in the world. I love this palette. It is a beautiful palette. I love purples. The purples here are beautiful. I never even reach for the browns, even though they perform really well. It's just those purples. I like A3 and the E3. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. We're keeping. Now on to Violet Voss. I have mixed feelings about Violet Voss. I really like the themes. Some of them are good, but they're not great, right? I don't really think they justify their price tag. I just don't think they're that good. So they survived my last declutter, but I think they're not going to survive this one. This is the Coral Crush palette. Again, very pretty, but we're going to declutter that one. The Best Life. Let's see how this one's looking. It's got a whole row of pressed glitter. It's leaking. If you can see, it's actually starting to not do super well. The colors actually were really pretty, but I just wish they didn't have so many pressed glitters. I haven't reached for this one in a long time, and because this one has something is going on there, I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna actually toss this one. We have the See You Later palette. This one's really pretty, and I have gotten some good looks out of this one. I think I do want to keep one palette from Violet Voss. I think it's gonna be this one. But let's see, let's take a look at the Flamingo palette really fast. Oh yeah, I do really actually like these shimmers. These ones weren't bad. They're just not my favorite. So I'm going to keep the See You Later, and I'm going to declutter the Flamingo. So these are the ones we will be decluttering. Okay, next we have my Sigma palettes and my Odin's Eye palettes. And I don't really see myself getting rid of too many of these, but let's take a look at what I have. So we have the Alice in Wonderland palette from Sigma. I brought this one to Disney World with me, and I was really glad I did because it was a beautiful palette. And again, I really do like Alice in Wonderland, so we will be keeping this one. We have the Magnifique palette, which is a tiny one that gets lost in my collection, but it's very pretty, and I would like to use it, so we are going to keep it. We have the Sigma Enchanted palette. Looks like this. I recently got into Sigma. I think only last year is when I really started buying from them, but I do like this palette. I'm impressed by how it performs. Same with the Cinderella palette. It is a beautiful palette that performs really well, so we will be holding on to this one. So all the Sigmas are staying. Odin's Eye. I actually decluttered a ton of my Odin's Eye in the beginning of the year because I just wasn't using them, and I like some better than others. So let's take a look at what I have. We have the Oliva 2, the Mini Ocean palette. I'm going to keep this one for now, I think. Actually, let's look at the mini palettes. We have the Scold palette, which is pretty. Let's kind of take a look because I don't think I need all the mini ones. We have the Erd palette, which looks like that. And we have the Oliva 2 Mini Sky palette. I'm going to declutter the Mini Sky palette because I just don't reach for this one. I used to reach for it. You can see the dips in these two colors. But I haven't in a while, so I think I am going to declutter this one. Let's see. I think I'm also going to declutter the Scold palette. It's really pretty, but again, I just don't reach for it. Actually, I do want to... Oh, that's really pretty. Okay, I'm going to keep it. I told you I shouldn't swatch anything. This one is the Erd palette. This is definitely my color story, so I am going to keep this one. And then we have the Mini Ocean palette. I do like this one. And again, I'm not going to declutter just to declutter, but I do want to use this one. I think this is one I need to use in a use it or lose it because I'm very attracted to these colors. They're gorgeous colors. I don't know how often I'm going to use them though. So let's try to do a look with them in a upcoming video. We have Saga of Freya, the Chapter 1 Tears of Freya. It looks like this. It's a gorgeous palette and I am going to declutter it because I don't use it. I don't use it. It's very pretty, but I am not using it. We have the Saga of Freya Chapter 2, Cat with Golden Carriage. Yeah, I am definitely going to keep this one. And yes, mainly because there's a cat on here. You know what it is? I am who I am. We're going to keep this one though. We have the Hummingbird, which is a collaboration that they did with Tina from Fancy Face, which is absolutely gorgeous. This one was limited edition, so it was kind of a bummer. They also did a collab with Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner, which is another gorgeous palette that was discontinued. I wish they had just continued making those because they're really pretty palettes, and I know there was a pretty high demand for them. We have the Soulman 2, which is a gorgeous palette. I've created so many amazing looks with this palette, so we will be keeping this one. We have the Alva 2 and then the Norns. The Alva 2 looks like this. The Norns looks like this. I like the Norns better, so we are actually going to keep the Norns, and we are going to declutter the Alva 2 palette. So we're actually decluttering 3. Keeping these ones though. These ones are great. We have a pile of random. I have quite a few palettes or piles of just random eyeshadows that that there's not enough of them to have their own pile, so they're in a random pile. So let's go over this pile. So this is the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 2 palette. It looks like this. This one came out in 2021, I want to say. I never use this, but it was so freaking expensive. So we're keeping this one and we are making an effort to use it more because I don't want to waste my money. I have 2 from Lois Cosmetics. I have the Meet Me in the Underworld palette, which is so pretty and it looks like this. And then I have the Meet Me at Midnight palette. Lois Cosmetics is a brand from the UK, and these are absolutely phenomenal palettes. So, so pretty. So we are keeping both of these. We have the Hindash palette. This is the Beautopsy Press Pigment palette. I got this one when it was on sale, and I have not used it. Do I want to use it? I do. Do I think I'm going to use it? I don't. So we're actually going to declutter this one because I haven't used it. Let's give it to someone who will. I have 2 from Sparrow Cosmetics. Now, Sparrow Cosmetics ended up shutting down a year ago, I would say, but they came out with a Lord of the Rings palette, so I am keeping it. This is the one ring to find them. I definitely would not touch the pressed glitters. They're not looking great, but the rest of the palette is fantastic. I was so sad when they shut down. So I am going to keep these just for memory. I also have the TMO Italy palette, which I got right before they shut down. It's so, so pretty. These colors I use as a highlighter as well. So I'm keeping those. Sparrow Cosmetics, you made some of the best black liquid eyeliners. I have the Nearly Natural from Glaminatrix. This is a Australian brand, and this is actually pretty new in my collection. I've only used it a handful of times, but I really like it so far, so I'm going to continue to hold on to it. Beauty Bay. If you've been on my channel before, you've probably heard me talk about how much I love Beauty Bay and their formula and their affordability. So many great things about this brand. So let's go over. I think I have all their palettes, almost all their palettes. I have quite a few. So let's go over. I probably won't be getting rid of any of these, but let's see. Let's see. I don't want to say that and then, you know, get rid of half of them, which is not going to happen. But we have the New Mood palette. It looks like this. We are keeping, oh, okay. So this is the Alice in Wonderland 1951 palette. This actually I did not like. This one was not the Beauty Bay formula I know and love. And part of me wants to keep it because it's Alice in Wonderland, but I'm not going to because I really did not like it. And it's just time. We're going to distash that one. I have the Berries palette, which looks like this. Their large palettes are gorgeous, but very, very large. I have the nude palette, which is a fantastic nude palette that I do like to use quite a bit. So we're keeping. Earthy palette is, I said, one of my favorites for winter, and it's true. Beautiful palette, beautiful greens. They just perform so, so well. I have the Golden Age palette. Actually, I can declutter this one. This one I just don't use. I've never used it, so I got it because I was like, oh, it's on sale for like $3. And then I never used it, so we're gonna declutter that one. We have the Wilderness palette, another great palette. Dark Fantasy, another fantastic palette. We have Love Notes, which I will definitely be bringing out this Valentine's Day because it's so good. Age of Opulence, which is just one of my favorites from them. It's just so pretty. Their mattes work flawlessly. We have the Jade palette. It's a good rainbow palette. It's a good palette. I don't reach for this one very often. I'm not sure why. Okay, I need to clearly make an effort to reach for this one more. Midnight. This one's been kind of hidden in my collection for a little while. I need to bring this one out. The purples are so good. The blues are good, but I've done a couple look with the blues that I just didn't like. But blues are hard. Okay, blues are hard. We have the Bright 2.0. I don't know where my Brights palette is. Oh, I left that one at my parents too. Okay, this is the 2.0. I also have the original one. Fantastic. Totally, I brought this one to Disney World as well, and it was just, oh, it was great. I'm so happy to have this one with me. But we are decluttering 2 of these. Okay, next, let's do my Sydney Grace eyeshadows, because they're not going anywhere either. I love Sydney Grace. I have quite a few of their eyeshadows, obviously, and yeah, I really like them. So let's go through the ones I have. I have the Mountain Trail palette, which is this great grungy green palette. It's fantastic. I like this one quite a bit. I have the Be Mine, which is not my favorite palette from them, to be honest, but I need to pull this one out for Valentine's Day as well, because it's obviously Valentine's Day themed, and I need to play around more with those purples and pinks, because I don't think I've given them a fair chance yet. I have the Tiny Marvels palette, which they did in collab with Mel Thompson, who's actually passed away. She was a great beauty creator, and this is just a beautiful palette, so I am going to hold on to this one. We have the Enduring Love palette, which is one of the first palettes I got from them. It's fantastic. This color, John, it's just, look at that. It's so metallic, so pretty. Great palette. So we will be keeping this one. Tropicolor is one they did in collab with the Fancy Face, Tina, and I did actually did a review video with this one, and it's a great palette. This color, Rainforest, oh, stunning. And then I have, wait, hang on. Cosmic Wanderer does not belong with those 3. This is actually from Terra Moons, not from Sydney Grace, but this is the Cosmic Wanderer. It just blended in with the other palettes. It's a great palette. It's so pretty. I did a video on this one, a whole video dedicated to playing with this one, so go ahead and search for that on my channel if you're interested in hearing about it. But these are my last 3 Sydney Graces. This is the collab they did with Temptalia. I have the Radiant Reflection, Quintessence, On the Horizon. And what's awesome about Sydney Grace is that most of their palettes, when they come out with them, they do a light and a deep variation. So I have Radiant Reflection in deep, and then Quintessence and On the Horizon in light. So this is On the Horizon, and then this is Quintessence, and then we have Radiant Reflection. Awesome palettes. Really, really love them. Just pretty much love anything that Sydney Grace puts out. And Terra Moons. Terra Moons is known for their singles, so this is kind of a one-off palette, but awesome palettes. We are going to be keeping all of these. Okay, this is going to be the last stack before we take a break and then start again in part 2. But we're going to go through this random pile. This is, again, another random pile. We have the Trolls Impure, and this is the classical palette. I just love the trolls, so that's why I've been holding on to this one, which is silly. I'm gonna declutter this one finally though, because it is just a neutral palette, and this is from the second trolls, and the first trolls was my favorite. We have the Sanderson Sisters eyeshadow palette from Pretties for Your Face. This is a fantastic palette, and it's a brand that no one really talks about. I don't think a whole lot of people know about this brand, but Pretties for Your Face has some amazing products, so really like this one. We have this one from Aether Beauty with the little insert with the names on it. I got this one in a Ipsy, I want to say, and I just fell in love with the color story. I saw a couple videos of people using this palette and was like, oh, that is a beautiful palette. And then I never touched it. It lasted through my last declutter. It's not going to last through this one. So we are decluttering this one. When I pulled this one out, I forgot that I had this one. This is the Prismic palette, and this is from Byredo. And I am so confused by this palette. I want to love this palette, but I don't think I do. I really don't think I do. Like, it's lacking depth, and it was an insanely expensive palette. I don't remember the exact price, but it was around $100. I'm not ready to give up on this guy yet, even though the packaging itself is horrible, because you can't touch it without it just, oh god, showing so much stuff on there. We're keeping it. We are keeping it. By Terry, we have the Terribly Paris. This one I never used because I don't want to mess up the embossing. It is what it is. It's so pretty. I love it. I have plans to go to Paris one day. So I think I'm going to use it then when I make my way to Paris. But yeah, we're keeping this one. We have the Unicorn Cosmetics Angel palette. It looks like this. I actually recently did a use it or lose it with the other Unicorn Cosmetics Wicked palette that I had, and I just really didn't like how the shadows performed. And this one, I have this similar issue. The shadows just aren't very great, so we're going to declutter this one. Okay, next we have Makeup a Murder palette, the Partner in Crime palette. I love this palette. It is fantastic. The shadows perform fantastically. How many times have I said fantastic? Probably too many, but we're keeping this palette. I like that one quite a bit. Now, HipDot has a terrible reputation, as it should, because most of the recent palettes are garbage, but the SpongeBob palette they did is actually really, really good. Like, these colors are actually pretty fantastic for HipDot, and it's a good palette. This is the formula they needed to continue to use. And I don't think they use this formula in a lot of their newer releases, which is a bummer, but I really like this one, so I'm going to keep this one. I have 3 from Certified. Now, I don't know if anyone else remembers a few years back when everyone was saying how much they love Certify, and they all have their palettes, and they all love them so much. I bought into the hype, and the funny thing is, I have not heard a single person talk about Certify since then. I have the Affinity palette, Destiny palette, and Affinity 2 palette, and this is Affinity. It's totally my color story, right? And then Destiny and the Infinity 2 palette, which is so pretty. So pretty. They're not good. This is just not a great eyeshadow formula, at least compared to everything else that I have in my collection. I bought into the hype, and I was kind of like super disappointed. I felt like this was a brand that people were promoting because they were being paid to promote it, and they weren't really being honest about it. So it's kind of the vibe that I got from them, which is disappointing, you know, when you watch a creator you like, you want them to be honest. So we are decluttering all 3 of these, and yeah, so we are actually not doing too bad. These are all getting decluttered. We're gonna go take a break, and I will see you again for part 2. There was a lot more to go through, so see you in part 2. Bye.